Tara Bonds.
Well, welcome everybody. Greetings and salutations. Welcome to the Christian Whistleblower channel. Men and women, boys and girls, cousins of all ages, we're very glad to have you here. We've had a very interesting week. Last week we were on Coast to Coast AM talking about intraterrestrials, extraterrestrials, and we've had a lot of great shows in between. And today we have with us a lady named Tara Bonds. And Tara believes and claims, and is recently coming out, that she is a reptilian being. She's here to tell her story. I would just ask it in the chat room that you be courteous, you be polite, and not do anything that is mean or unkind, or say anything that's mean or unkind. And we're gonna find out about her story, and we're all ears. Tara, welcome to the Christian Whistleblower channel.
Well, thank you for having me, and thank you to everybody else in your audience for, watching. I appreciate it.
You betcha. Tara, how long have you known that you are a reptilian?
I've actually known for about 2 years now.
Okay, so you've known for 2 years. Can I ask you how you found out that you were a reptilian?
Yes, actually, I'm going to start from kind of the beginning. I was a Christian.
Please do, take the wheel and just go.
Yes, I was a Christian for 28 years. So this was not something that I really knew a whole lot about. And, in the Bible, it talks about, the serpents, and the serpents are considered, it's evil. It comes from like Lucifer and, Satan.
Right.
So, it was very scary for me being a Christian and being very narrow-minded, I would say, like small mindset. So I went through an awakening at age 28. And at age 28 is where everything just kind of started. I had it was a really difficult haunting, actually.
A haunting?
And I have a haunting, okay. Yes. It was a very severe haunting with reptilians. Yes, and they were coming in from different dimensions. So I was seeing, I didn't know, I knew when I was a child that I was gifted. I was always very intuitive. I just didn't know what it was called. And of course, when you grow up in Christianity, you were told that, messing with that area, it's demonic, and it's evil. So, I just was very intuitive. I could read people and I could understand situations that other people didn't. And when I went through my awakening, I started seeing different things and I didn't understand why. Why was my sight opening? I'm clairvoyant. I'm also audient. I didn't know it at the time.
Tara, can you tell people what that means? Those words get thrown around a lot. I'm not sure that everybody knows exactly what that clairaudient and clairvoyant really mean.
Okay, clairvoyant is the ability to have clear sights. So we could be able to see things that when you are gifted that other people might not be able to see.
Now, is that spiritual things or even things in regular people? All spiritual things. Okay.
It's spiritual things. It's really spirituality. So, clairaudient is the ability to also channel, but to also hear. Gotcha. So it could be, it's both. So I'm able to do that. I have multiple other gifts as well, but I want to continue with the haunting and where it all.
Sure. Let me break in with one great question that popped up in the chat room, and you can address it later or we can address it now. I don't want to get you off your track. But Tracy Dyer asked, do reptilians go through an awakening to ascend like we do?
Yes, some of them do. There's a very small percent because we are in a place where we know of reptilians to be evil. Not all reptilians are evil.
Absolutely. Great. So
and I'm here. Yes, and I'm here to spread that light, and that's the reason why I'm doing this. It was very hard for me to come out and say this. It was literally the worst thing for me at the beginning, but it became something that I realized that this is really me. This is really who I am. I have a passion to really speak about reptilians and the good side. We always hear about the bad, right? Mm-hmm. We always hear about everything that they're doing. And so, this is where I really started my journey. I really struggled. I mean, it was literally, I went through haunting for 2 years straight. There were weeks, where it was hard to sleep. I was constantly being, seeing things that were coming in, and they were reptiles. And it was terrifying. It's terrifying for somebody who's a Christian who does not know what's going on. And you're seeing these things and then you go to your pastor and you tell your pastor, and he's like, I don't know what you're talking about.
And at this time, you didn't realize that you were a reptilian?
At this time, I did not realize I was a reptilian. It wasn't until I started to set aside a lot of my Christian beliefs. I was having a lot of dreams. They were visions, and it was revealing to me that the Christian religion was really holding me captive. And I was getting a lot of this negative energy from it.
Yes.
I was getting so much negative energy from it, and I was going through like a pool. It was literally like a tug from Christianity to my spiritual awakening and just becoming who I am meant to be. And it took a lot. I mean, I was seeing things, dreams of past lives that I had no clue of anything about, but I could see me in a past life. And then I have seen myself as a reptile, and I thought, what's going on? Why am I seeing myself this way? I will get further into it.
Oh, please, you're doing great.
Thank you. Where I am a shapeshifter, as well. I have my physical features have changed, and that has a lot to do with kind of what's going on right now in the world as we are shifting into another dimension. So this year, we are going to start seeing a lot more shapeshifters, as we start to move up. This is going to be a really good year. A lot of things are going to be revealed.
That's really interesting.
So at this, yes, it really is. When it was very clear to me when I really found out, and I was terrified. I was actually, my guides had been trying to work with me for a long time, but I was just in a place where I didn't want to listen. I didn't want to hear it. And I was so terrified because what I was seeing, these different types of reptiles, it was unfortunate because the haunting actually affected some of my family members.
Ooh.
And they felt it too.
Now, Tara, were most of the reptilians hominid forms, upright, or were they like dinosaur type things too?
It was actually both.
Oh, okay, interesting.
They had very large teeth. Some of them were the Dracos, actually. They had wings.
Oh, my.
And that's the one that my mother had actually gone through. I was so scared, like to the point not a whole lot of things could really move me. And I literally wanted to sleep in my mom's bed. I literally stayed in her room to try to get some rest during this haunting. And that night, she was like, what's going on? The room went absolutely freezing cold, and it was summer in Florida. I was living in Florida at this time. So I had been there for, a couple years, originally from Texas, and then I ended up moving to Washington. So, but while I was there, it was just terrifying, and my son, I have 2 kids, my kids had felt a part of this as well. And it was like, what can I do to stop this? How can I fix this? It was just so horrifying. I didn't know the end results. And it really took me learning. I mean, I really went through a learning process, and I have the ability to now clear houses. So I cleared
spiritually speaking.
Yes, spiritually speaking. And so this was and I also had others that were helping me as well. So I had went to a psychic because I didn't know who else to turn to.
That makes perfect sense.
Yeah, I went to a psychic, and I was terrified. I mean, I was shaking in my seat, because I needed some answers, and my pastor that at the church that I was going to couldn't give me any answers.
Did your pastor tell you were a reptilian?
No.
Okay. That was a question in the chat room, so I just wanted to make sure we cleared that up because I figured he didn't, but I wanted to make sure that was answered.
No, he had no idea what was going on. He said it had to do with demons. They came in and blessed my house, prayed for it, holy water, all that stuff. It didn't do anything.
Yeah, I wouldn't expect it to.
Yes, it didn't. He really didn't know what was going on. And it just
Interesting.
got to a point where I needed to seek out and I needed some more information.
Hmm.
And so I went to a psychic and she was able to explain my situation and what I was going through. And it made perfect sense. I thought, wow, how does this woman, she doesn't even know me. And she sees me for 30 minutes and she could tell me my whole life and everything I've been through. That does not make any sense. And I've been
Right.
a Christian for 28 years and they can't tell me anything. Right?
Very interesting.
It didn't make any sense.
Well,
And then
Tara,
I
I was
ended
a
up,
pastor for 20 years. I've got a Bible college degree. I spent 20 years in the ministry and went through the same transition you did. And I can imagine yours was very difficult and mine was difficult as well. But it's hard to understand. It's hard for people to understand how freeing it is once you do finally get out. For a while, you think you're lost and everything's horrible and it couldn't get any worse. Then all of a sudden you get on the other side and everything's fine. And you're going to make it. And I can sense that's where you are now.
oh yeah, definitely. I feel secure now. It's like, some certain things come in and I'm like, wow, I see, certain type of, I call them beings,
Mm-hmm.
spirits, and I'm like, wow, I've never seen that one before. That's interesting. But it's not something that I feel like, oh, I'm harmed.
And you don't
You
have,
know,
it seems like you don't have that fear anymore.
yes, no, I had to get past fear. That was one of I would say, the most difficult mountains I literally had to climb was getting past fear because religion teaches you fear. And that's all
Absolutely.
you really know is fear. And so when you're going through something like this, I actually felt I was given a chance, honestly, to get out of this religion,
That's fantastic.
to get away from it and actually become who I am. Because, through religion, I didn't know who I was. I really didn't. And I was always in fear and I was always trying to please Jesus. I didn't want to go to hell and, all those things until I realized, hey, hell doesn't exist. These things don't exist. It's nothing but a blood religion. It's nothing but a ritual. It's something that has been actually created by the reptiles. So, the bad
It's
one.
funny. I'm giggling because these are the things that I say on this channel, and then to have you say it. And how funny is it to think that realizing that you're a reptilian actually freed you from the fear and guilt, blood magic matrix of Christianity?
It definitely did. That's the really neat part is it did. I found out who I am. And then also my ancestors. My ancestors are reptilians. And so when I saw it was so scary at the beginning because I was seeing tons of them coming in. So I didn't know what was good and what was bad. I had to learn on my own. Nobody could really train me in this area, even though, psychics that have heard about, reptiles and there's certain people who study these things, you don't really know until you really go through it.
You don't. That's so powerful. I don't know if you know this or not, but I wrote a book several years ago. Was on Coast to Coast AM with it, and you might find it very interesting. The Bible, and we don't believe the Bible 100%, but we know there's some truth in there. The Bible actually talks about before man was created in Genesis chapter 1, there was actually a race of upright reptilians created called the majestic serpents. So your race, if you are of the majestic serpents, from Earth, then you probably have been on the planet longer than we as humans have been.
Yes, I have been actually told that. I was on my name I use for my business page is Starseed Lyra because I am a starseed. I'm considered a starseed, but I was on Lyra before. So I have
Okay.
been on other planets, but I have been here. But this was from what I know as a human, this is my first time here, of
Okay.
course, as a human. So, but I wanted to get back into the features to where
Please
I
do.
noticed kind of on myself and my body. Well, my eyes started to change and I didn't understand why. I have tons of photos and different things like that, and I didn't understand why. So when I would look in the mirror, I started noticing my eyes were changing very strangely. the look of them, the color of them, that's not the eyes I knew. And I could see, actually, I don't know the correct term for this, but it's kind of sort of like I see myself maybe possibly astrally, or I actually see my soul. So when I look at myself, I could see a different nose, which is, higher up. And reptiles, they have noses that are very, higher up. So I
Mhm.
could see my soul of who I am underneath the human face. But I can also see others as well.
That's interesting. Now,
So other reptilians, I could see them.
I noticed that you have on braces. They look very lovely on you.
Oh, thank
That's
you.
a really good job. Is that part of the change of your physicality, you think? Is there dental changes as well?
There is I changed my teeth. I didn't like it. I had kind of like vampire-ish kind of teeth, but I've had
Mhm.
my braces on for 2 years almost now. So
Okay.
I, wanted to change that part and fix my teeth where I needed, health
That makes sense.
reasons too.
So
So
you said that this was your first time as a human. Do you think you're a human now, or are you a reptilian? Which one are you in this particular incarnation?
I am a reptilian, but I have a human form,
Oh,
meaning my
okay.
form is human. You are human form, but you might be a starseed, or you might be a wanderer, or you might be something else,
I got you. That makes
from
sense.
another planet. So this is our shell, basically, our shell. We have our soul, and this is our shell.
Interesting. Let me stop you right there because Melly Holmes in the chat room says something I think it will be helpful to you, and you're doing a great job. Keep going,
Thank
please.
you.
Melly says she's telling the truth. I recognize this. I was trained by these things since I was little. It's scary at first, but after the adaptation, we understand that it isn't bad.
Wow. Thank you for expressing that. That's really beautiful. And I'm glad, somebody, can relate, and then they also, they understand, because this is a very, very it's a sore topic that a lot of people don't want to talk about.
Absolutely.
We hear so many things about, reptilians and what they do and how evil they are, but we can't forget there's good and bad in everything. There's good and bad in humans.
Oh, absolutely.
Here on this planet, there's good and bad on every planet. So there's that in reptilians as well. And I will also say grays as well. There's good and bad.
Now that I've never heard that there's actually good grays.
Yes, there actually is. There are
Hmm.
good grays. I have seen
Interesting.
grays. I have met with grays before. Like I had said, I have seen all sorts of different species. Have you ever heard of the mantis?
I have
I had met
actually
with the
seen a
mantis.
mantis. I was
Yes.
doing an exorcism way back in the day when I was still a Christian, and I was, we called it, it wasn't really an exorcism. We called it casting out demons, but that's what people think of. And over in the corner, while I'm working on getting this person free, I see this mantis being standing there, and he's just like taking notes on a pad. And he was there
Yeah.
for a long time, and then he was finally gone.
Yes, I actually think they have something to do, from what I've seen, because they do a lot of studies, and that's how they really actually come in. I think they have to do with AI. I'm not 100% for sure, but that's how it seems. Like, they come in, they do a lot of studies, so that makes sense,
A
because
lot
I've
of
had
people have said they are kind of
similar
like,
happen.
yeah, they're like watchers. They're like studiers now. So after this terrible haunting that you went through, what happened towards the end where you finally started to find yourself?
It was really when I started to learn. I started watching, I started studying. I would go online and I would start, how to, help me through an awakening, because that's why I learned.
Mhm.
It was like, oh, an awakening, but I was having dreams, so I was really guided, and that was the only time that my guides could really contact me, because I wasn't listening, and my ancestors, so I wasn't listening. I was too, wrapped up in fear, and I was told that I needed to really face this. I needed to face this. I needed to deal with this. And this is where it really started, for me. And so it really took, just dedication and just really studying and sticking through it, because I was still going through the haunting.
Right.
It just became minor over time. So it got a little bit better as I became a lot stronger. So, right, we start to get stronger. We start to let go of this, lower density negative energy that we have, and we start to become more vibrant. We start to build, I say build, we start to build energy, positive energy, good energy, loving energy.
And
And every day,
reptilians
I
can
mean,
put out positive, good, loving energy, you're telling us.
oh yeah, reptilians can.
Interesting.
Yes.
And do you think it was your power of realizing that I guess, did you overcome the haunting? Do you think mainly through your reptilian self or through your human self?
Oh, it was more, my gifts come from the reptilian self.
Okay. That
So
makes
it
sense.
was more of my reptilian self that has helped me through it.
Interesting. One of the reasons why I wanted to have you on, I know a lot of people are probably saying, why did Jeff have this girl on? Although I think your information's fascinating. I've always had this thought, just kind of in the back of my mind that it wouldn't go away. It wouldn't be quiet. There's just this little voice saying that there are reptilians here on the planet and that some of those reptilians are no more pleased with the situation of this planet than we are. They're no more pleased with this Christian, Jewish, Islamic, Abrahamic matrix that we're in. They know it's not working. They know it's not right. And even though some of them are working for it, there are others that have said, you know what, this is wrong. And I think that if we could get to the place where we can work together, that reptilians and humans can actually work together to free the planet.
Yes, I agree with that completely. And I believe that, there are a lot of reptilians on the planet that actually don't know that they are reptilians, like me.
Interesting.
And I believe that there are some that know that they are, they just don't want to come out. They don't want any part of it. They're just, they stay on the side. And it's really, it's sad to see, because like we're faced with war all the time, but we're also faced with war with different species, which actually caused this.
Hmm.
The reptilians and the Greys are the ones that actually cause the problems on Earth. With the wars and the money and then the religion, the fear. Reptilians come in with fear. That was the part of the haunting that I felt the worst,
Right.
is because they are extremely strong. They come in and they look scary for one, but then there's also, they have very strong energy and they take energy. And so they can absorb it very quickly and then leave you drained. And so I was always dealing with that. It was like I was getting drained constantly, but I was being pulled in different areas. So there are bad reptilians, but there are good reptilians. And
Now,
I
you
think that
yourself as a reptilian, do you feel I'll use the word temptation for lack of a better word. Do you feel the temptation to use that reptilian energy to drain humans, to scare humans, to take advantage of humans, use some of the psychic gifts that reptilians had before we did, and many of the reptilians, I think, are remembering about them than some of the humans. So, is there ever a temptation to use some of your reptilian gifting to get an advantage or to take advantage?
to harm people for an advantage.
Or
No,
not maybe
definitely
just to
not.
harm, but just to get a leg up, to be, use, your juju when, you got a human that's not quite as
Oh,
powerful, something like that.
no, definitely not. That's not what I want to do, and that's not how I want to portray myself.
Okay.
I'm here to help people. I give readings and I also guide. I consider myself as like a life coach. So I help
Hmm.
people, and I help a lot of people that are Christians as well.
And do they know that you're a
That we're
reptilian?
Christians. I'm sorry?
Do they know that you're a reptilian when you're working with them?
Yes, they actually do. I have told many, but then I have also have had interviews before. So, and I talked about it. So a lot of them do know that. But for years, I had, I was actually doing readings on groups, different stuff like that. But I have posted and I have said about this, but not fully. Like I haven't came out a whole lot about it until recently.
Interesting. So when did you finally realize? I mean, do you remember the moment where you said, "Wow, I might be a reptilian"?
Yes, that was the scariest moment for me. Honestly, it was terrifying. I thought, what? There's no way. I was seeing different things all the time. Reptiles. I was having tons of dreams, and then my facial, my features, my physical features were changing, and I didn't know it was just because I was really seeing my soul. But these are things that you learn over time, so you don't know at the beginning. So I knew then, but I didn't want to be that.
Right.
That was the struggle. I didn't want to be that because you're still, you have this doctrine, what you're taught about serpents, why would you want to be that? So, it was a scary situation. And I feel like there are tons of people out there that are going through very similar, and I want to be able to help them.
Now, how long
You
ago
know,
was it that you did your interview with Mr. Weber?
I would say about a month ago.
Oh, okay. So I'm just looking at the picture from that interview, the picture you have posted, and you look even a little bit different now than you did then.
I do. I have certain features that do actually change. So if you look at a lot of my photos, different things like that, my eyes, like it's very strange. It is. It's very strange.
Are you at the point now where you've totally kind of accepted it and you're comfortable with it, or do you still, catch a look in the mirror, or sit down and think and like, wow, this is still really, really weird?
I'm comfortable with it now, but it was very weird for a long time.
I bet.
It actually set me free, and it really led me to the path that I needed to be on. My purpose. My goal is to help people.
Now, people
My
are
goal is
asking about your diet. Do you ever like take mice by their tails and hold them up and just gobble them down?
no, no, no.
You don't do that. Okay, good, good.
No, I
What
don't
is your
do that.
diet like? If you want to talk about it.
I I eat a lot of vegetables, but I also eat some fruits, but I do eat meats. I try to reduce it. I like, I'm from Texas where there's barbecue. That's how I
Mhm.
grew up. It's hard to break away from that. So I'm trying to change that, change that part and eat less meat and try to be more healthy.
But I would think for some reason we think that a reptilian would have to eat meat. Is that true or false?
I don't believe that necessarily
Okay.
because the reptilians that were here in the beginning, I believe that they ate what the world, what the earth produced, but I believe that they did eat meat as well, but it's not how it's portrayed.
Gotcha. Gotcha. That makes perfect sense. So since you decided to come out and be a reptilian, do you remember who was you probably remember this, but who was the first person that you told, hey, by the way, I'm a reptilian?
My mother,
How did that go?
she she actually found it very interesting, but she was also a Christian as
Oh,
well.
okay.
So
Wow.
she found it interesting, but she said, well, I don't know. I mean, she didn't know. We know about the Bible and the serpents, different things like that. But I was just really testing the water. That was about it. And from there, I was pretty much done. I didn't
Right.
really tell a whole lot of people after that. So
What do
I
your
needed to
kids think?
practice. My kids are young. They don't understand. They're 6 and 9,
Oh,
so they're,
okay.
they're too young. So they're little.
Do you think that do you have any idea that they might be reptilian as well?
From what I know, no, they aren't.
Okay.
They are not. My
Interesting.
oldest son is very gifted, though. He does have abilities. So,
Interesting.
yeah,
Somebody asking a weird question. Jeff, please ask her if during the haunting, if she saw 3 balls of blue light.
I've actually seen those quite a bit.
Interesting. Okay.
Hmm.
Interesting. Um, Electric Crystal says that they don't discriminate. They would date a reptilian. Does that come into your, I don't know what your marital status is, but if you were single, would that come into your play of mind? Would you be thinking, I better find a reptilian instead of another human?
No, no, definitely not. I am single, but no, that's not, it's not a necessity. I have met reptilian souls,
And I
and
was
the
going
ones
to
that
ask
I
you,
have
once you
met,
came out, did they start coming and finding you?
yes, a lot of them did come and fight me, or they wanted to know if they were reptilian. Because from what they have seen, a lot of people have reached out to me and said that they went through something very similar and they needed help and some guidance. So I have met men that I didn't actually know at the time that were reptilian that I definitely know now. And those experiences were not the greatest.
Gotcha. Gotcha.
So
If
I
you had
think
to
that
guess
you,
right now, out of 100 reptilians, I know this is an overstatement, and it's probably a little bit like what's the word I'm thinking of? Like profiling, but out of 100 reptilians that are here on Earth right now, what percentage of them would you say would be benevolent thinking towards humans versus what percentage of them are malevolently oriented towards humans?
I believe it's a very low percentage.
That would be nice to humans.
Hmm.
Interesting.
That's
We got
where
a
it
lot of
needs to
black
change.
subscribers on our channel too. Have you met any black people that are reptilians?
No.
Interesting. Do you think there are black people that are reptilians?
I think that it's possible. I have met one other person that I had met was half black and half Indian.
Okay. And they
That
were
is a
reptilian.
reptilian. It's very rare.
Interesting. Interesting.
Hmm.
Very, very fascinating stuff. Now, with the whole lore of reptilians is that they shapeshift. Do reptilians really shapeshift like we think it about shapeshifting in this genre?
No, it's not how it's portrayed. I don't believe that they could fully shapeshift unless it's some sort of ritual, but it's a ritual that is done for them to fully shift, but it's not something like, we've heard on the news or different things. They're not news, but on the internet that I think a while back it was something about Justin Bieber about somebody had said he had shapeshift fully and became like some sort of lizard or something. I don't believe that's necessarily true. I don't think that you could fully shapeshift in your human form body. I believe that you have characteristics that can change, but not fully.
Interesting. Interesting. I've always thought that, if there are reptilians here, and let's just say if there's reptilians here, they've been here for probably longer than humans have been here. And they have been here for all that time, and all that time they've stayed low key, they've stayed hidden, they've stayed out of the limelight for the vast majority of the time. I find it very, very difficult to believe that a race that smart, a race that wise, a race that practiced at staying out of the limelight is going to get caught shapeshifting by a $5 webcam from Walmart. I think that's preposterous.
Yes, I don't believe that happens as much as what they actually say. I believe it can. It is caught. I mean, I have seen, some do it and you could tell right away, this person is shape-shifting, but it's not exactly how they describe it. It's really, and I also feel that, some of the videos you can go online and you can look up shapeshifter videos. Some of them I feel are faked and not exact because that's not how it looks. But that's just my opinion. Anybody could, believe differently, whatever that they want to think, but it's
Absolutely.
not
Norseman, thank you
exactly
very
like
much. I
that.
appreciate that. People are
Mhm.
asking, like somebody asked, is Nancy Pelosi a reptilian? Is Donald Trump a reptilian? Do you have the ability to answer those kind of questions?
Yes.
And you don't have to. I just want to know if you actually could make those kind of determinations.
Yes. Majority of our leaders and that are in the public publicity, they are reptilians.
Interesting. But again, let's say that there's somebody here that likes Donald Trump and you say Donald Trump's a reptilian. That doesn't necessarily mean that he's a bad reptilian, right?
No, it does not necessarily mean that he's a bad reptilian. He could be fighting against other races of reptilians, which happens very often.
And you would think if the reptilians are gonna be defeated, if the reptilians that want bad things to happen are going to be overcome, then it's going to take at least some reptilians that want good things to happen.
Yes.
And they're going to have to go to, deal. It's funny. I have a guy named Young Pharaoh that I do videos with, and he's a black guy. Obviously, I'm a white guy, and he said that in order to prevent race war, then the white people are going to have to check our people, and the black people are going to have to check their people. And if we're going to avoid war with the reptilians, then some reptilians are going to have to check some other reptilians, and some humans are going to have to check some humans again.
Yes.
Wow.
That is. Mm-hmm.
So how long have you known you're a reptilian? A couple years?
Yes. It's been a couple years. So it feels a lot longer than that.
Yeah.
I could tell
you want people to know that there are good reptilians, right?
Yes, exactly. That is my mission, is I want people to know that there are good reptilians. We're not all bad.
Is there an organization of good reptilians? Are there a group of good reptilians that have joined forces and are thinking of trying to find ways to communicate and better the world?
I have met quite a few, reptilians that have abilities and they use them. But I don't know of any groups or organizations because it's honestly a dangerous situation. So
right.
I don't know of any organizations or, a whole lot of people that came out. I hope that more would come out, definitely, because we hear so much. I'm a fan of David Icke. Mm-hmm. He's got a lot of information.
He does.
And so I've seen some of his videos. But reptilians are portrayed to be all bad, and I don't want that. I don't think that we're all that way. There's some of us that are very sincere. We are good-hearted. We are gifted. I'm also an empath, a medium. So, this is something that I enjoy. I really found my place, on this planet, and I feel secure and I feel happy. I finally realized who I am. And that's
Very
an accomplishment in itself. So
that is an accomplishment in itself. And what do you think the message is, just beyond, we're reptilians, we're here, we're not all bad. Where do you see yourself going forward, having established that not all reptilians are bad? What's the next step individually for you as a reptilian person, and what is the next step collectively between us and you?
I want to keep, my whole mission is I want to keep in contact with people. I want to still speak. I want to keep speaking. I want to help others. That's my whole mission. I have my psychic abilities that I use, and those are gifts. And that's a huge part of me. And that's my character. That's my own, I would say, my own identity. This is who I am. This is who I want to portray myself to be. I'm a good person. And I want to encourage other reptilians, hybrids, whatever you are, to come out. But you have to get past the fear. And that is the hardest part, because it really has to do with fear, and not even just religion. Somebody doesn't have to be religion in order to deal with fear.
Right. And Melly says, all our bodies are just a vessel. It's about the energy right now, and some are here to help keep the balance. I think that's true. And to me, it's a real message of hope, because right now, and again, from talking to Young Pharaoh, and a lot of us don't know about this, but we're pretty close. I don't know how close to actually going to a hot race war. There's a lot of black people that are fed up. There's a lot of white people that are fed up, and maybe understanding that it's not just black and white, but there's reptilian races, and I'm sure there's probably other races here on the earth that we can begin to realize that it's not really a race of people that are keeping us down. We got to realize it's the people that are above us, the elites, and they want to play us all against one another. And hopefully Black people can say, yeah, I know I've been done wrong, but I don't want to just be the only slaves on this plantation. We want to take down the plantation itself and then work things out amongst ourselves. So I hope that this is, inspiration to us. And you yourself feel like you're not from Earth, right?
Yes, exactly. I don't feel like I'm actually originally from here. I don't believe that at all. There are reptilians there. A lot of them are underground as well.
And there are some from
underground.
Earth, right?
Yes.
Okay.
They were here since the dinosaurs. So since the beginning of time.
Wow. So there are reptilians that are from Earth, and there's reptilians that are from other places in the
Other
galaxy.
planets, there's different species. Like, here on this planet, there's different races, right?
Right.
We have different countries, but think about like different planets.
Mm-hmm. Do you think there's more reptilian races or more humanoid races?
Yes.
Okay. That's a fair answer. So,
Yeah.
we think about the reptilians being underground. That makes sense to me. Are you confirming that there are a lot of them underground?
Yes.
What about in the oceans, Tara?
I believe that's a possibility as well because there's different species.
Okay.
There's different species and there's different types.
Right. Now, what about this idea that we hear about Hollow Earth? Is that something that works in your thinking or no?
I haven't did a whole lot of research on that, so I can't give a whole lot of information to that. It wasn't something that really, I guess you would say, I have a lot of things that I'm studying right now, so It wasn't something that caught my attention right away, but
Gotcha.
I will look more into it.
Now, Tara, have you ever seen yourself shapeshift, in a classic, your eyes turn into whatever and all that?
Yes.
What was that like?
It was scary in the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
It was scary. This is when I saw my features started to change. It was really my eyes that I had first started noticing in the beginning. I was starting to get slits in my eyes, here and there, but it was little glimpses. It doesn't last very long.
Mm-hmm.
But it's actually the black part of the eye, the black part of the eye, the iris, it gets very, very large and then it'll split very quickly. And then it goes away. So I would notice that. And so I used to think, what is this, snake eye or something? It didn't make any sense to me. It was really scary.
Can you do it at will?
I can't do it at will.
You cannot?
It just happens.
Okay. Does it happen like when you're mad, angry, stressed?
Yes.
Interesting. How about it like when you're hungry or if you're feeling great love? Does it happen then as well?
Yes. I feel like it's more when I'm like, I have periods where I'm really stressed, and I was very stressed at this time.
Mm-hmm.
And I was also very angry at this time too. So
interesting.
I kept seeing it very often, and it seems like when your energy gets, I would say low, because when we get in these moods, we have to build our energy, correct? And so reptilians, their facial features, it'll start to change.
Now, has anyone ever seen you change or seen your eyes shift and said, whoa, what was that?
Yes.
And what was their reaction?
Shocked. They actually weren't sure what they had saw. They said, oh, your eyes had changed. That was really strange because my eyes went completely black to slit, and I had a very slightly brownish tint to my eyes around the side. Yeah.
Wow. So it's been 2 years. How do you feel about where you are today?
Oh, I feel great. I am still learning. We are always on a learning, journey. And I feel great. I'm wonderful. I'm so thankful to be here and to be able to express this and just to, be who I am and what I can give and to show others and to teach them.
Interesting. And if people want to find out more information about you, or if they want to get some readings from you, where do they contact you?
Yes, they can go. I don't have just yet a website, but I do have a Facebook page that I've been using for a little while. So it's Starseed Lyra 1111.
Okay. So Starseed, and how do you spell Lyra?
Lyra.
And it's 1111?
1111. Oh, like awakening.
Okay.
1111.
So Starseed Lyra 1111. Interesting. Just wondering, do you think that reptilians, generally speaking, want to work with humans, or would they just be more happy to go their own way and do their own thing?
No, I think that they do. I feel like a lot of them have been misunderstood too by the evil ones. I call them evil ones, like as meaning there are reptilians that are pedophiles. There are reptilians that are in, I call it Satanism, even though Satan doesn't exist.
Right.
It's still a ritual and it's still a religion, and there is a such thing as sacrifice, and that's where the Bible actually came from. It's a blood religion.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Yes, and I do feel that there are reptilians that are not a part of this. I will actually say I don't feel like Trump is. I feel like he's different, and I feel like he's representing a lot of them differently. It doesn't mean that I'm 100% believe everything or I'm a fan. I won't say that I don't trust any president that's ever walks in. They're all a part of it, but it's just different species, different races that go against each other.
Interesting. And I just had a great question and it slipped my mind. It was like the best question to end things on, and I can't remember what it was now. Doggone it. All right, it'll come back to me. It's been a fascinating time. I know it's not easy for you to come out and say this kind of stuff, and it's not easy to subject you. Here's what I wanted to ask you. If you could, you were a Christian for a long time. I was a Christian for a long time. And knowing what you know now, and there are Christians that watch this, they hate me, but they'll still watch me because they know that there's truth coming through. What would you say specifically to Christian people, knowing what you've learned from your reptilian background?
What I would basically say, those that are going through it, some of them are just stuck and they don't want to think outside, these beliefs, but it's really to pay attention. It's really because you could open up the Bible and just really, really see what's going on, from the beginning. I feel like there's several different gods portrayed in the beginning of Genesis. And just to think animal sacrifice, like in the beginning, and then Isaac having to sacrifice his son, but God stopped him, right? Yep. Why would you have to sacrifice your child? For what? To prove yourself? It's really acknowledging that and starting to wake up. It sounds harsh sometimes. It sounds like, because it's a lot of information like at one time. So I don't want to, come off too strong because it's a lot.
Right.
And then let's not forget about the drink of my blood and eat of my flesh.
Yep. Are you RH negative, by the way? People are asking.
I am.
You are?
Yeah.
Interesting. Okay. Interesting. Do you think all reptilians are?
From what I know, yes. From what I know, every reptilian I've met is RH negative. I'm O negative.
Okay. So you've never met a person that you have identified as a reptilian that's not of a RH negative blood type?
Yes, I have not.
Fascinating stuff. Now you've been on a few interviews now, and you've done and talked to a few people. Is there a question that you wish somebody would have asked you, but nobody has yet?
No, I think I have, described, as much as I can, and just to express myself, the best of knowledge that I can give. But I did want to mention something.
Please.
I had a soul report from Gary Carlson, and if anybody knows him or wants to have a soul report, he's a great person to work with. He helps me a whole lot.
We've had Gary Carlson on this show before. He's a little bit of an odd guy, but most people that I hear from say that his information is right on cue. And I'll tell you, Tara, he told me about a certain individual that we won't name that wears a beanie all the time, but said this person has a reptilian soul, stay away from him. And if I had listened to Gary, I'd done myself a great service, and I didn't. So yeah, Gary
Oh,
Gary
wow.
Carlson. Maybe we should have him on again sometime. He's an interesting fellow
He
for sure.
he really is, and he helped me so much. So I'm really thankful for that. And so I wanted to mention him, but that's interesting.
Yeah,
You
Tracy
had him
Dyer's a
on
big
here
fan
before.
too of Gary.
Okay.
Excellent.
Well, that's
Tracy's our head moderator. She does a great job. Tara, I really do appreciate you coming on. I didn't really know how this would go, if it would be a total train wreck, if it would be fascinating, but I think you did a tremendous job sharing your story. There's some people that believe you, some people that don't. For what it's worth, I'm a master practitioner of neuro-linguistic programming. And folks, as I look at her eyes, as I look at her facial expressions, and I look at the tells, I can say that if if I was called in as an expert, my testimony would be this girl really does believe every word that she's saying. And we're all about information. But take away this, and Tara, forgive me if I give a little bit of a rant here, but
that's okay.
it is a great thing to think that there are reptilians on this planet. It's a great thing to think that there are reptilians on this planet that want to work with us. It's a great thing to realize that our own way of thinking is not the only way of thinking. And if you don't take anything else away from this, if you think I'm stupid, you think she's crazy, think about how you can expand your thoughts. Think about how you can expand your paradigms. So think about how you can become more inclusive of other people that aren't like you. Maybe they're not reptilian. Maybe they just don't look like you, dress like you, act like you, or have the same color of skin. Let's all try to be better humans. Let's all try to be more inclusive. And I think that we can certainly take that away from this. Wouldn't you agree, Tara?
I do 100% agree. Thank you for saying that.
Absolutely. And if you want to get services from Tara or find out about her services one more time, tell us. It's in the chat, but tell us one more time.
You could go to my business Facebook page at Starseed Lyra 1111.
Excellent, excellent. Well, Tara, sit right there. I want to say goodbye to you personally. We want to salute everybody that's in the chat room for being here, seeking after truth. A huge audience, Tara. Over 500 people tuning in, which is very high for this time of day. So there's a lot of interest. So I just want to give you a lot of encouragement. You did a tremendous job presenting your beliefs, and stay true to what you believe. Stay true to what you feel. And it really doesn't matter what anybody else thinks, but are a lot of people listening, and we appreciate your bravery. We appreciate your willingness to step outside the paradigm, and we need more like you. Thank
you, Jeffrey, and I appreciate it. And thanks for everybody that's listening.
Absolutely. For Tara Bonds, I'm Jeffrey Daugherty, the Christian Whistleblower. And on behalf of Tracy, our great moderator, and of course, Cynthia, we appreciate you all very much. We do salute you for being here, seeking after truth. And there's never been a better time than today to start unindoctrinating yourself. Thanks again, Tara. We'll talk soon.
Thank you. Sounds good.
And I'll be right over there to say goodbye to you.
Okay.